A few minutes ago, we heard the French Prime Minister, Edouard Philippe, saying that now is the time for dialogue. How much progress can the government really hope to make there, considering the complex nature of this movement?
I think we're in a difficult situation for the French government at the moment. They're trying to rein in all of the aggravation that has been caused by the manifestation on the streets today and in the previous three Saturdays. It perhaps feels a little bit like it's too little too late to some extent. I think what we're going to see over the next few days and week or so is an attempt by the Macron administration to try to diffuse this situation and try, if they can, as much as possible to sort of put it to bed before the Christmas and New Year period. I think the government is particularly concerned that this is not going to be great for France's image if this continues throughout the festive period, particularly with people looking to travel to Paris with short breaks from the tourism effect as well. So I think there will be a concerted effort, but whether the government will be able to rein this back in and to be able to get the Gilets jaunes movement to calm down and to listen to what they're proposing remains to be seen. I think this struggle is a lot about the general high cost of living, and for many people in France and across Europe and globally, trying to make financial ends meet, paying things like rent, insurance, heating, that kind of thing. I think these are genuine concerns that have been raised by many French people from different walks of life. It's not one particular demographic that we can identify. Amongst the protesters, we've got factory workers, farmers, self-employed, retired, unemployed, people of all ages. Lots of protesters from small towns and rural environments, I think, protesting against the kind of metropolitan centres and their perception of metropolitan elites. France has got this tradition of manifestation and protest, the kind of revolutionary tradition, as we call it, which obviously goes back to 1789, and more recently, we think of the May '68 revolution that we are celebrating or remembering 50 years of that happened 50 years ago. So it's not surprising that we see people out on the street in France. That's not uncommon. It's how deeply ingrained this movement is and how damaging it is to Macron and how damaging it is to the French political system that remains to be seen, really, I think.
And, you were mentioning the purchasing power, etc., that those are not new issues, as is not the revolutionary aspect of these types of protests. But many protesters and analysts have been pointing to Macron's political style and attitude. Is this personal?
I think for some protesters it's personal. I think, Macron's style is perceived to be perhaps a little aloof and a bit distant. He's taken on quite a kind of presidential traditional style where communication with the public has not been always been that direct. But I don't think it is personal about Macron entirely. I think it's about general standards of living issues for many French people. I also think it's this perception that the political elites in general are out of touch. And I think for Macron, it's doubly difficult because he pitched himself as somebody new from outside of the traditional kind of party politics circles. He instigated this mouvement en marche movement, which was supposed to sort of have a new approach to politics, was supposed to have an inclusive approach. His economic reforms were supposed to reduce unemployment and to supposedly increase the standard of living in France. And as yet, I think for many French people, they've not really seen these effects. And so they're kind of reacting to the fact that, Macron pitched himself as something new, something as original, set up this new movement. It wasn't traditional party politics. And I think for quite a lot of French people at the moment, they haven't seen any difference from previous presidents and the way they've gone about their politics.
Nicolas Startin, thank you very much for your analysis. Thank you for having spoken to us on France 24.